Welcome back, listeners. So, Josh, we talked a lot about just kind of the current state of planting across Southeast Minnesota in the first segment. But here in number two, we're going to focus a little bit more. We've had a lot of questions on the fact that the soil is fit, conditions are looking really nice, but some of these colder conditions are just making us question a touch more. Should we be planting? Should we not? So let's plan on covering that here in this segment.
Yeah, this is a question that I think every spring we have a window where we're just getting started that these questions come up. And when I was a younger agronomist, I used to be really conservative with this. But, 15 years ago, we also maybe didn't have the seed technology, the seed treatment we had. And we'll talk about this a little bit more. It's evolved a little bit. And I used to be really conservative that if it was cool, I'd want to wait. And one thing I learned really fast in my career is that every time I told somebody to wait, when the guy that was out there going had a really, really good crop, that I learned really quick that, the guys that are out there in these cool temps, they're always, start harvest sooner, they're getting good yields. And we'll talk about some of the data we've done behind it. But, I learned very quickly then this is always an emotional thing, this soil temp thing. And I think part of the things that we deal with is, when you go south 300-400 miles or a couple hundred miles, where they have a much longer growing season than we do up here, they probably have, maybe, 15-20 days that they can be patient waiting for that right condition. But you get up here, Allie, in southern Minnesota, we're just limited in growing season. And I think I'm just a believer that if the soil conditions are fit, I'm not going to sweat what the soil temperature is as long as we're planting in really good conditions. And be curious to see kind of your take on that of how you kind of view that whole situation as well.
Well, I think something that's helping the current state of the situation is if you look at the projected forecast, we've got some really nice warm temps coming. So even though we are putting this seed in the ground in colder temps than some are comfortable with, we're going to have those warmer temps coming to get that seed up and out of the ground a little bit quicker than it just sitting there. And we, like you mentioned, we have been doing a little bit of work just around what do the soil temps look like across the area. I thought it might be just interesting to walk through those real quick, just to maybe show the differences in where that snow line was that we mentioned in the first segment. So I took some soil temps at 2-inch and then 4-inch depths earlier this week in Mabel, Minnesota. At 2 inches, we were sitting at 46. At 4 inches, we were at 42. And then Josh, you took your temps up in Lewiston, Minnesota. At 2 inches, you were at 39. At 4 inches, 39.5. But this was earlier in the morning, and like you mentioned to me, those soil temps can change pretty drastically depending on the time of the day that you're maybe taking those. But anyways, the point I'm getting at here, like I mentioned, I really like that forecast coming. And I know we also mentioned this earlier, but the fact that folks are commenting on their soil being the most fit that they've seen it in recent years, not even just this year, I think that's just a sign that we really need to take advantage of those conditions and get this corn or beans in the ground.
Yeah, and every year in our product knowledge plots, Allie, we always run a yield by planting date curve, and we've been doing that for several years. And outside of maybe like 2016, that's the year we froze in the middle of May, which was a very odd event, not something that was like the craziest thing I've ever seen in my career from a frost standpoint. And even that year where we had a hard frost, May 16th, early planting wasn't impacted. It yielded the same all the way through. Didn't necessarily help us, didn't hurt us. But other than that, we see very strong yield trends to planting date. And in some cases, if you look at like the first window compared to the finishing windows, seeing 15 to 25 bushel differences from, say, maybe starting whenever the first window is, say it was April 25th compared to May 15th or May 25th, it is always crazy how much that yield changes. And as I've really watched this over time, I'm a big believer that we've lost more bushels fearing chilling injury in cold soil than we've ever lost from it. And I think we have enough data in Southeast Minnesota. I was going through, we have 251 replicated data points that we can track this over the last 4 years in specifically Southeast Minnesota. And the data suggests majorly that early planting trumps soil temps. And in most cases, Allie, where we see that cooler soil temp, we are giving up a little bit of stand. In most cases, probably maybe 300 to 500 plants an acre. But when you take it to yield, you take it to moisture, to ROI, that early plant is putting the most bushels in the tank and delivering the most return on investment year in, year out.
And another comment I would make there, and you can agree to disagree, but you just look at, it just seems like as we get into those planting windows that hit in that middle of May window, those seem to be the most significant crusting windows that we experience in the spring. And you look at the significant impact that has on your stand. And I think to your point, though you are maybe seeing a slight stand reduction in some of these chilling injury cases, I would argue it's probably more significant when we hit those crusting windows in that mid-May window.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that in my career, I've had more replant situations from crusting than I've ever had from chilling injury. And I think that's just a common thing that sometimes I think gets overlooked a little bit. And, with that, Allie, I think we just want to hope everyone has a good, safe run here. Be safe, and I hope we have a lot more planting progress to talk about next week.
You've been listening to Today in Agronomy on KFIL AM 1060. If you've missed part of the show or want to hear more, check out the show page at kfilradio.com or with the 103.1 KFIL app. Stay connected with Allie and Josh on Twitter. It's at Allie Gwise, W-I-S-E, and at Josh Schaffner to submit your questions for the show. Tune in next Wednesday for the next Today in Agronomy on KFIL AM 1060. We'll see you at 11 a.m.